Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Kyoto by Night. Our lovely court, centered in Kyoto, has, well, it's been through the ringer for the past few days. Some things have happened. The Yomi Oni have returned and are running amok. There are kinfolk that are missing. But raging or storming winds, the daimyo of the Ichijo Modoribashi sept has deemed, after witnessing some very blind behavior by some of his younger members, that, well, it seems that perhaps a good lesson in what the tea ceremony stands for is an order for all wooden and stone hangyokai that are currently serving within the protectorate. As such, he petitioned the, well, one of the oldest kitsune, if not one of the oldest beings in the sept outside of perhaps some of the Samebito or other individuals, such as the Zhenglong or some beyond that even. But Takemoto Hitomi, who is Gakusei no Ryuku, the student of Ryuku, the purveyor of the ancient tea ceremony that became very popularized towards the end of the Tokugawa shogunate, has indeed granted an audience with four groups at a time, or four members at a time, of the younger individuals of the protectorate to come and enjoy a tea ceremony at her tea house, which is actually just adjacent to the Seimei Shrine. And so the instructions given to those that were not so versed in it is they will arrive to the 4-hour affair, which will not be done in real time because ain't nobody got time for that in real life. They will be asked to show up to the garden and purify themselves both physically, mentally, and spiritually. So as the hour of noon starts and the first group is to arrive, we start with, we'll just go right down the line from Totori, Jun, Mako, and eventually to Fierce Claw. So we start with Totori.
So Totori will arrive in a shabby old kimono. Not deliberately shabby, but ultimately that resource is one life. Is there a you say cleanse themselves, is there a pool or similar nearby?
The Sukubai is indeed sat near, not too far from the covered bench, where people sit and reflect on the garden. So it is there to cleanse the hands, the mouth, and symbolically the spirit.
So yes, Totori will take off his the over jacket of the kimono. He will wash his hands, his lower arms, and his face in a practiced motion, similar to as it's common practice at all Shinto shrines. before putting it back on. Now somewhat damp. It probably the water, like you can see the stains on the sleeves now. Like the water stains the sleeves slightly. And he will head for the tea house, specifically the tea door.
Well, before you go there, it would be best etiquette to actually sit in the garden until all of the other individuals arrive.
Fair enough. Then he
So,
will sit in the garden.
yes. And reflect, I would
Reflect.
assume.
He will do, yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is at least some decent traditional practice.
Very well. Please roll me your willpower.
Yeah. Let me just check what that is. I don't have my sheet up.
For shame.
I know, right? Because I know my rage score, so.
There are other dots on that sheet. I don't understand.
There's also Gnosis because I'm a Zhonglong. 5 successes.
Well, you feel a sense of calm and tranquility come over you. And for the rest of the scene, you will have a -1 difficulty to any willpower roll.
Excellent.
If the ritual goes well, there will be other benefits, but none for right now. All right. Next up, we have Jun.
Jun will approach the area. He's wearing an older. Definitely, you could tell that its season for style was probably many years ago. However, it does seem to be fairly well maintained, if a little worn at some of the edges. It's definitely a little bit too large for him in certain places, so it's obvious it was not made for him. However, it is brown, and he does have what appears to be a brown leaf that he has affixed to the lapel of one of it. It is a real leaf, not made of something. He comes in and takes off his foot gear at the doorway and then makes his way into the garden itself, walking on the dew on the grass with his bare feet, seemingly lost in his thoughts. Without even really thinking about it, he goes over and follows the same actions that Makoto Tori-sama took by washing his lower extremities from the elbow down, and then after a moment, he just kind of wanders over to one side and sits quietly in the garden, kind of lost in his thoughts. He hasn't really been around this type of environment very much, so he's just kind of losing himself in the regimen of the tea ceremony in hopes that that will guide him to the right way to do things.
All right. Well, then please roll me your willpower, good sir.
Yeah. 3, sir.
All right. You will also get a -1 difficulty to willpower rolls for the rest of the scene.
And so as to not seem discourteous, when he does notice that there is someone else in the garden, he will bow respectfully in that direction so as not to interrupt their contemplation, but to still show respect to their presence.
Tatori nods in response and returns to basking in sitting in the sun.
All right. Next up, we have Mako, and she makes her way into the garden.
She has a fresh, clean kimono. This is my nightmare roll to start with. And of course, Dice Stream doesn't want to show why does it do this to me?
The many mysteries of
Why?
Dice Stream.
I have a success, so I'm okay, but
Kept me close there, though.
it is close, but it doesn't matter. I have successes. That's what matters. She comes in doing all of the proper bows, cleansing, greeting, shoes at the door that you've heard twice already.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't get her sleeves wet. She's been doing this for a very long time. She's very practiced at it. And seeing that there's two others here, she will give them deep, proper bows and take a seat of calm reflection until all are arrived.
Please make me your willpower roll.
I have one success. No, two. Is it standard diff?
Standard death. So you have 2 successes on standard death. All right. Last but not least, we come up to Fierce Claw.
Fierce Claw walks into the garden. Is it feasible to say that she's probably at least witnessed Mako do this as she was coming in, or was everyone separate?
I feel that it would be far more interesting for you to roll your etiquette roll. Your intelligence.
Okay, we can do that. I get a whole 3 dice for it.
No.
No. Okay.
Well then.
Well, so she looks extremely uncomfortable. Like, she definitely doesn't like having this much clothes on, and she's looking a tad bit confused and nervous as to what to do. So she looks very lost when she walks in here.
If the other 3 wouldn't mind rolling me perception and empathy, then.
Empathy. Vinny, what do you take me for?
I know you got at least a dot of it.
I do not, good sir.
Really? Oh, well.
No.
Straight perception, fail. You're just looking at this this thick-set woman in a floral kimono, looking like she doesn't quite belong, or clearly does not understand what to do.
I have 2 successes, and somebody else has twice that many.
Yeah, so Jean, you're the first one to see it. I don't know what Jean's reaction would be, but there is clearly someone here who looks like they're lost and doesn't know what to do.
Jean is the helpful sort, so Jean would wander over to this person and bow and say, "Excuse, please. You seem to be lost. Can I help?"
Help is good. Please.
He smiles and nods and bows again his head. Please, and he'll kind of show her without touching her. You need to go this way, and kind of gesture towards the pail and move his hands along his arms, showing her that she needs to wash. Did she? I'm assuming she took her whatever was on her feet off at the door toward the garden.
She failed her etiquette roll, so probably not.
Okay. Then he will kind of point to her foot gear and say, "Please to leave it. Please leave it at the door."
Oh, she'll say, "Oh," and her cheeks will flush slightly, and she'll go back and leave her shoes,
And he's
sandals,
speaking.
whatever it is she's
Yeah,
wearing.
he's speaking very quietly. He's hoping to not interrupt the
Draw
contemplation of
attention.
the other people, but obviously.
Right.
And then after she does that, he will kind of gesture to the grass and say, "You're to walk in the garden on the dew so as to cleanse yourself and make yourself pure for the ceremony to come, and then find a place to contemplate."
She'll nod and give a little bow to him and thank you.
You'll-
And she will do as he instructs.
Okay. And he will return the bow and then return to his contemplation.
All right. So after you are shown the ropes, so to speak, Fierce Claw, you are led over to, or well, you see where the other four are sitting, and you you can make your way over there, and you can roll your willpower. But I'm going to say, because of the flustering nature of being so out of place, you will be at a difficulty 7.
Okay. Oh boy. I failed. That was a great fail.
The calm serenity of the garden does not overtake you. So you will not get the benefit for the willpower rolls for the rest of the scene.
Okay.
Which should be interesting because you have a very specific flaw.
I do.
One
Yeah.
at a time.
It is a 4-hour ceremony, and she has the impatient flaw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just looking at that, it's pretty much the anti-tea ceremony flaw.
I may have made that a point to Vinny before we started. It's gonna be, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so you need to make me another willpower roll because you can see the tea house over there.
Yep. Then she's like, "Why the fuck is everybody standing here? Why aren't we going
sitting.
in? What is?"
They're all sitting.
Or yeah, sitting. Yeah. Why are we all sitting here? Why haven't we got in yet? That's probably what's going through her mind.
By all means, please roll.
This at least 7, right?
It's diff 6.
Okay, I get 1 success. So she's not gonna go bouncing in. She will restrain herself from from going anywhere. She will wait as patiently as she possibly can, probably through gritted teeth.
Well then, you all sit for almost an hour and a half in quiet, perhaps somewhat fidgety contemplation, as is tradition. At the right time, a low-sounding bell will ring, and it will mean that it is time to head over to the Nijiriguchi, which is the narrow entranceway into the tea house itself. Brownie points if anybody knows why the door is only 67 centimeters in size.
Everyone enters on their knees. All are equal. All come in supplication.
Yes.
However,
I knew
I've
it.
got a little merit there that you can see.
It's gonna be amazing.
That's gonna be great.
What are we gonna roll to not Winnie the Pooh this up?
I can just see
Depends. Are you doing it in
the helpful June trying to like push but not touch him at the same time.
I am going to say Dex. You know what? Because I don't think I'll really ever get to be able to do it too many times in the specific combination. Dex etiquette.
Excellent.
It's
Excellent.
amazing. Every role should have etiquette in it in this game.
Okay. So let's see. The Winnie the Pooh roll. That's actually a really... That is effectively my highest dice pool. And I botch.
Ladies and gentlemen, this could be the greatest day in Kyoto history. Tori, as you go to move in first, your giant shoulders move in against the frame, and you try and wiggle yourself about. You know the reason why the door is so small, and it is traditional, so perhaps you don't have a problem with it per se. But in a practicality sense, you understand why it is not such a great thing. So as you push yourself in, I'm going to roll fate dice because there's one of two ways this botch can go. One is you're going to lose some face because this is the oldest tea house in Kyoto. And the other is you've gotten so embarrassed and so frustrated, you may have to roll rage.
I think that's going to happen. No, because if you're embarrassed, you have to roll rage anyway. So there's no circumstance here that won't involve a rage roll.
All right. Well, you don't break anything.
Okay.
Lucky you. But now, please roll me your rage.
All Macaulay roll at diff 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Wow.
You have the option to spend a willpower point. If you destroy this, I'm going to say this, you are a very traditional Japanese man.
I am,
Everything
yes.
about the old ways of Japan mean a great deal to you.
They do.
And if this is the oldest tea house in Kyoto,
I mean, Vinny,
I am just putting it there for you. All right? This is the character you sent me. And I feel it is my duty as your ST to help remind you of the character that you built. Despite the fact that I know what you want to do right now. I know in your head you're thinking, man, this is going to be great. It's going to lead to so many terrible, terrible things that I will enjoy because I am a masochist. But
it is.
He's taunting you, Duncan. He's taunting you. He thinks you can't do it. That's what it is.
Plus, a dragon will appear in the garden of the Imperial Palace of Kyoto.
In the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day. This is literally the most veil breachy thing I can think of.
And honestly, you don't need common sense to know that. So now it's time for you, Duncan, to answer me a question. How much does a pure and traditional Japan actually mean to Tori?
It does mean an awful lot. It hurts that passing that willpower point off my sheet is a physically paining experience. As he is stuck in the door of this place. He is failing his entrance to a traditional ritualized Japanese environment. There's probably some tourists like pointing and laughing at him.
That is the one thing that will not be done.
Oh,
because
okay.
They have cordoned this area off for what, in the normal way that if a set of Japanese officials or high-ranking businessmen were to use the tea house for the ceremony, it has been given that kind of space.
If anyone else wants to point and laugh, feel free.
The only one I can think here that might have a problem
Only
here.
pointing and laughing out of character.
I will
Yeah,
spend that willpower point, and there will be a time, probably 5 minutes after the scene ends, where I'll be like, Duncan, I am disgusted at you.
June is pointedly not looking in that direction to allow him to keep his face.
How virtuous of you, young shifter. I will allow you now to roll your Dex etiquette once again.
High def.
Yes, difficulty 7. I have never seen someone get so flustered over successes.
With much grunting and struggling, his kimono torn,
Oh.
Tatori manages to squeeze through, merely slightly, probably slightly damaging the wooden frame of the door.
All right.
And then, on the other side, he's going to take several deep breaths as he tries not to blow the building to splinters under the force of expanding to a massive dragon.
Very good. Does anybody else here have huge size?
No, just
No.
strength 4.
Very well. Then the other 3 remaining Hingyokai have no issue from moving through the door, and they are sat in the room together. The last person in would, of course, have to shut the door. I am going to say that Jean is probably the one that would take care of this, since the Dragon King is probably a bit too flustered at the moment.
Happy to.
And I'm pretty sure that ringing in my headset is Duncan gloating about what just happened.
A little bit.
So, about another half hour passes as you all are meant to sit and reflect on the wall scroll and the vase with plum blossom in it. White plum, actually, because it is a spring flower, even though it is coming toward the end of its peak bloom. And the scroll on it says Wake se jaku, which is a proverb which means harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. Senin no Rakyu, who was the one that created the tea ceremony and brought it to the prominence that it came to, and the minimalist way that it is performed, believed in this very deeply. So, the ume plum blossoms there, they give the air the aroma that it needs. The pot or the kettle that is currently sitting over a set of a bed of coals, which is basically heating the water, gives the room something of a slightly smoky sort of aroma. That kind of aroma when you smell wood burning. It's rather enjoyable. After a moment, or after the 30 minutes, go ahead, Tiger Girl, go ahead and roll. You know what to roll.
Yep, gotta roll my willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is dragging. When's it gonna get exciting? Why am I here? And we'll keep all of those thoughts to myself. And we'll completely act like that, yeah, this is...
At 3 successes, you can probably justify not twitching all the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she'll actually observe people around her and kind of just do what they do. Yeah.
Well, after the 30 minutes are up, the door on the far end opens. It opens just enough for the figure to be seen. And she comes in, and on her knees, she bows to the three or four of you.
Bows with his forehead touching the mat and stays there.
Yes, and so does Mako.
This one is one of the Kitsune, correct?
She is one of the Kitsune.
Small bow.
Second chance.
He doesn't have the hatred flaw, so he doesn't have to roll.
Yeah, I merely have intolerance.
Still second chance. Here it comes, second chance.
It's okay, she hasn't told him to do anything yet. He's merely going
Fierce
to be
Claw.
rude.
Fierce Claw will mimic the other two.
All right. She bows and sets a plate of sweets in front of her, and she will bow again before she moves into position to place down the actual tray of sweets. There's 4 in number. She will then make her way back out, bow before she leaves, and she will bring in the various instruments needed to perform the tea ceremony. Taking great care, and does it flawlessly and elegantly for everyone to see, following the methods that her teacher had taught her. So, with that, she offers you another bow, and she will take up the tray, and she will pass it forward to Tori.
Tori will hesitate, stiffly take the tray, with a, once again, small bow. And take one of the sweets and pass it to pass it to Jun.
All right. So basically, the little napkin that you would have brought, if you had, because you have etiquette enough for that, you would set it on. Jun?
At this point, Jean will have risen from his prostrate form and will, without raising his eyes from the center of the table, will take the proffered tray, take one, place it upon his napkin, and then pass on to, which I'm assuming more than likely would probably be Fierce Claw. As she said, she was kind of mimicking things, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he will kind of, he's going to do things very deliberately, kind of almost slight. I mean, you couldn't really tell, but he is leaning slightly towards her, kind of a, hey, look at this, do this.
No,
type
she's
thing.
watching. She's watching intently.
And he does that, and then he will pass her the tray.
And she will mimic what he does. Do I need to roll anything to successfully mimic this? Well. Natalie said she's just taking a cookie off a plate. I'm like, yeah, I know, but.
Now, go ahead and roll me your charisma. I don't think you have any etiquette, do you?
I have 1, yeah.
Roll me your charisma etiquette.
Okay. Look to see what my charisma is. I don't think it's very high. Charisma is 2. Manipulation would have been a little better. So what? She drops it.
I'm not gonna say she drops it, but she kind of like she picks it up and puts it directly into her mouth. Were there
And then
any
she probably
were any of the courtiers that are here? They would probably be properly scandalized at this point.
As she starts to put it in her mouth, June will kind of clasp his hand into a fist on her side, trying to warn her.
Can I make a perception roll to notice this?
How good is the feral shifter at picking up subtle social cues?
She's gonna have to roll
I
her
know.
perception empathy at difficulty 8. That's how.
Well, I got I got six dice for it with the attentive specialty, so let's hope. Are you fucking kidding? The dice fucking hate me today. God damn it.
I failed for going
She
through
says-
a door.
She's like, why is this guy making fists at me? I'm a tiger. I'm gonna eat what I want.
I'm gonna eat it. And then she's like, oh, this isn't meat, and then promptly spits the cookie back out.
Oh God.
Because strict carnivore.
Oh, this is a disaster.
I am going to let JC roll his dex and his
Oh,
dex etiquette to try and guide her hand so it doesn't hit the floor.
okay. That's not the biggest. Just so you know, that's not my biggest pool. I'm not as fortunate as Duncan. Yeah. No.
So the sweet hits the tatami mat.
Yeah. There's nothing I can do to save that.
Tatori. It's a massive breach of a very time-honored tradition. How you feeling right now, buddy?
I passed the roll.
Okay. You're still, you know what? Your anger over your own embarrassment just is too much to really care about the embarrassment of someone else.
But he is still upset at the disgust this this being has shown for traditional ways.
Mm-hmm.
One struggles and endures through such difficulties. That is one of the lessons of the tea ceremony, that one must be
Yes.
patient. And he is going to take it off the floor with his napkin. He's going to lift it off the floor and hold it in front of her face. You eat it.
By the way, that's June's willpower roll, not to just burst out crying at what just happened.
Oh, I should have let you roll your tea ceremony stat, fucking JC. I just realized that.
It's etiquette, so I mean, it would have been.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it was close enough.
So he picked the cookie up and did what?
He's holding it in front of her face. You eat it. He assumes that this is one of the Starbucks visiting westernized Japanese. Like his stepmother.
Stepmother, yes.
She'll take the cookie back from him and say, "Is no taste good."
It is proper.
Anyone would like to roll
insult
their
us
perception?
All.
Oh, I'll roll it. I'm pretty sure I see what's going on, but I'll roll it.
2 successes. Yeah!
What is the roll? Perception what?
Oh, I don't
Perception,
see
empathy.
anything. I'm in shock.
Kitsune can't rage, so, you know.
They can, but it's
can they?
it's always yeah, they can. It's always a fox frenzy.
oh, she's gonna go
That would
run
also
the
be
room,
hilarious
and
right
we
now.
are all gonna be just. I'm just gonna. This is gonna be the quickest character ever because he's just gonna walk outside and throw himself on something.
I have 2 successes.
Ain't nobody beat her successes, so no one can tell what she is thinking right now. She is as calm and as
I have
placid
common
as.
sense.
You can assume that despite her being one of those frivolous and
Failures.
insufferable kitsune,
Yep.
she is definitely somebody who has practiced their poise over many years, and if no other reason, maybe not worthy of respect, but at this moment she is doing exactly what a pure and proper Japanese tea master and host should do, and look calm, placid, and serene, and still hospitable.
You offend us all. Eat it.
She looks very confused, like she doesn't understand what it is that you're talking about. Like she doesn't understand why this is offensive. It's a cookie and it didn't taste good, so I spit it out. Like that's that is her complete logic. Like I
No,
don't
completely.
understand.
Of course.
Like I don't. It's like I don't want to.
Akoto-san, she finally speaks up.
Yes.
The young one here comes to us from the mountain sept. She is someone who perhaps cannot tolerate such snacks, and the air is upon me to not provide her with something more suited to her tastes. She will hold out her hand across towards Fierce Claw.
And this is why he has intolerance kitsune.
Um. Well, Fierce Claw doesn't understand why she's holding out her hand. So she's just gonna kind of look at her a little blankly.
You want to help her there, Jun?
I don't know if he can help at this point. He will. Let's see what kind of clues he could give her. He will. He will kind of, out of the side of his mouth, trying to be as quiet as possible. Still, would just say, "Acceptance is noble to help you regain your face." And he'll kind of lower his head a little bit and kind of incline it slightly towards their host, hoping that she gets it.
Basically saying that she's supposed to take her hand, or out of
Whatever you
character.
got from that. Whatever you got from that.
If you would like to roll perception empathy again, you may. This is going better than I could have ever planned or hoped for.
So that's either 4 or 5 successes if attentive counts.
I'll give you attentive, and this will be a bit of a read of the room.
Okay.
All right. Well, first off, JC, what was Jun trying to get her to do? I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Yeah, and to accept her apology, basically allowing the host to retain her face by bowing lower than the host and showing respect for her willingness to allow her to be a strict carnivore and such a thing.
Yes. From the reading the room, you would also know that she would take the treat or the sweet from you, which has now been somewhat eaten.
Okay. Can I say that she wrapped it in the napkin?
I'll give you that.
Please say
Okay.
that you wrapped it in a napkin.
So she wrapped. She did wrap the cookie in a napkin, and she'll put it in her hand, and then she will bow and say thank you.
And and Takamoto Sama will take it and wrap it and put it into her obi, and she will see to it that the plate is passed down to Mako, who has been delayed from her cookie for quite a bit now.
I'm so sorry,
It's okay. How does
but I'm not.
Mako embarrass herself?
Mako takes the tray and takes 8 of them and just shoves them all in her mouth and goes, "Whoa!"
No, Mako takes the plate, takes her cookie, places it on a thing, turns the plate, and offers it back.
Right. Roll me your intelligence etiquette, please. I'm so glad that I did not get a huge number of people taking the perfect or the perfect
I have a
protocol merit.
success.
Okay. You would place it on the floor and then bow. Like
Yeah,
you
that's
would
what she did.
yes. All right. So she will bow to you and she will take it back. And at this point, everyone is allowed to consume their snack. The
Except for
sweetness,
Fierce Claw, who doesn't have one.
except for Fierce Claw, the sweetness is meant to offset the mild bitterness and accentuate the mild bitterness of the tea itself. She goes through the various actions of actually mixing the bowl of tea, taking the matcha powder, placing it in the bowl. Before doing that, she of course cleanses it very ritualistically, and she will mix it with the whisk until the tea becomes frothy, with enough for 4 people, with a concoction enough to be able to give each person their own 3 scoops in the single bowl. She will then bow as she places the bowl in front of Totori. And everybody roll me roll me intelligence etiquette at this point.
That is less good.
Yes, I got 3 successes on 3 dice.
I have 4 successes on 4 dice.
Very nice. So the way this protocol works is that once she finishes her bow and she's passed it off, and Totori has taken his bow, he will bow his head slightly again, bring the cup to himself, and he will turn it so that the front of the cup does not touch the front of the bowl does not touch his lips. After which he will take 2 to 3 drinks. He will then bow again, turn the bowl so that the front of the cup is facing him again, and he will take the napkin that is tucked in the upper part of his kimono, and he will run it along the edge of the bowl, and then he will pass it down, and this will go from each person to the next until the bowl is empty, and it should be emptied by Mako, who is at the end. So, this is where your charisma and etiquette come into play. I would highly recommend, Fierce Claw, that you spend a willpower point.
Yeah, I was actually gonna do that. I will go ahead and spend a willpower on this because it's the same dice pool as intelligence etiquette. So, um, all right. I didn't need it, but that gives me 3 successes.
Gonna spend a willpower for Mako too, because with the way this has been going, she does not want to screw it up now. She wants to maintain that she's done good, because well, she's.
I did not spend
say
a
that out
willpower,
loud.
but I have 3 successes.
Let's walk on the Ryle side. Let's roll. I pass.
She's so dejected. Oh,
So I have 5 successes.
all right. Sweet. Of everybody here, Mako, the other Dragon King, is clearly the most graceful and practiced at the tea ceremony itself. She's the only one that hasn't had a major fuck up or was looking nervous as shit right now.
I mean, mine wasn't part of the tea ceremony. I just had a problem with a door.
True. But, you know,
That's true.
she's the only one that hasn't gotten in some way, if this were Vampire, the botched presentation.
Whoa,
or
whoa,
at least
whoa, whoa,
merits
whoa.
for it.
Very fair.
I have not. I've been
Yeah,
trying
but
to save people.
yeah, sorry, of the people.
Oh, that's true. I don't count.
So, when it is done and the ceremony ends, or well, everything is passed back to her, and she takes her time to very, very precisely clean and cleanse the bowls and whatnot. She will take the various instruments out, and then she will come back and she will bow in front of the 4 of you again. Could anyone explain to me the teachings of Ryuko, the teacher, the Grand Tea Master of the beginning of the Meiji era? What is it meant to foster?
Can I make a roll for that? Because ultimately that is something that Duncan doesn't know, but ultimately that is something that Totori, I would argue, probably would know.
Sure. Roll me your intel. Roll me if you're a traditionalist or you have a very vested interest in the tea ceremony. You can roll it at difficulty 4.
And what are we rolling?
Straight intelligence, yeah?
Straight
Intelligence, etiquette.
Okay.
I mean, I'll roll anyway, but
You'll be doing it at a difficulty of 7.
okay. Oh, goddamn! I got 2.
I got 4.
I have 2.
I have 3.
All right, so Totori gets the 1 on this. So the whole point of the tea ceremony, for one, Totori is going to know that the reason he goes in through the door, as they do, although not the exact way that he did, is meant that everyone who enters with their head lowered and their knees on the floor, thus removing any airs of rank or status. It is meant for the host to show sincere and heartfelt hospitality to all guests, regardless of their status. The elegance and the of each of Takemoto Dono's movements is to show her deep consideration for her guests. It is essentially the tea bowl is representative of the deep expression to make her guests feel welcome. The whole act of not letting anyone's lips touch an unclean part is to show your consideration for the person next to you. And essentially, the whole thing comes down to it is to enter with a posture of humility. The closeness is done so that the relations between people is unaffected by rank and status. The closeness that everyone has to share the space with each other for is meant to foster fellowship. Let the tea be simple and your hospitality be heartfelt. Treasure every encounter as it were a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I will let you, Duncan, describe that back as you feel.
Totori will say it is a mark of relaxation, of simple pleasures, of demonstration of host's grace and the fellowship for those taking part.
I hope that the words of my sensei, let the tea be simple and your hospitality be heartfelt, were felt in today's ceremony. Now, everybody, please make me a willpower roll. Except for Fierce Claw.
I fail.
Aw.
Oh boy.
I mean,
So you ever said if I got the -1 diff?
It's at -1, right?
Yes.
You didn't say if I got the -1 or not?
You passed
Did
your
I or
willpower
no?
roll originally, so yes, you would be at a -1 diff.
Yes. I have 2 successes.
All right. For the 2 people that succeeded on their willpower roll at any point between now and the end of the month, you may take a -1 difficulty on any one willpower roll.
Sweet.
As despite all of the hardships of this ritual, in you two, at least, it has fostered a sense of serenity and perhaps some fellowship. Totori and Fierce Claw, the rolls couldn't have gone any better on that last willpower roll, I think.
Well, I didn't get to roll, so.
Well, okay, yeah. For you, didn't get to roll because you didn't come in with the tranquility that would be required for it. The moment was lost on you, unfortunately. But perhaps you've learned something, at least. Maybe some justification for some etiquette, if you were thinking.
Oh, definitely, but she's also thinking that humans are strange.
Well, they are.
Does
In
seem
any
way
event,
overcomplicating tea.
that is true. In any event, Takemoto Dono will give a final bow, but she will, if anyone wishes to seek her wisdom, they may at this point. If anyone has questions for her, essentially. She is one of the oldest members of the sect.
Totori seeks all the wisdom that a kitsune can offer by bowing and leaving.
As is tradition. Great day for Totori.
Mako will graciously thank her host for the kindness and honor that she has shown us.
All right. And unless anyone else has anything to add, we will end our scene there.
Now, Yoon will also thank his host for being allowed to participate before he will try to be the last to leave, making sure that Beer's Claw doesn't try to eat his host or something before
No.
leaving, and then
No.
then he will depart as well.
As he goes to depart, she will simply bow to him and she will speak softly. You are a credit to your people, Jun.
She starts to bow to him, and his whole body hits the floor, with his nose firmly buried in the mat, and he will just simply reply, "Thank you, don't know."
And she will give you a nod, and she will make her way out through a different exit. And at that, we will end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching.